have made this your life's work without anybody prodding you or poking you in this direction. It's just kind of some small conscious decision you made to capture this, and for Ben and Dan to come in behind you and to honor that with this film. It's really a unique and classic thing, man.
Well, actually, a lot of times when you do things like the inner city or the poor or the people that are more on the outside edge, there's not really a big attraction to that. And I really appreciate the fact that, you know, I have this huge archive, which is really major, and it really is about the changing history of not only Lower East Side, but certainly America. And it shows you how the gentrification and changes have taken place, right to the point of having Chairman Mao on the mall, you know, the mall in Washington, D.C. You got that Martin Luther King, who's done in China. So, you know, part of it's about trying to be America and bring America back to America. And also, but to have this huge archive, one of the biggest blessings I've had in my life was having these three guys, two of them here, Ben Solomon and Dan Levin, to take an interest in my archive, because there's really, you know, several thousand hours, hundreds of thousands of photographs. You can actually go through the movie now and see even more depth in where the people ended up, how many more people now are dead, and how things have changed and like that. And it's really interesting. And I'll divert just for a minute, just for Texas.
Just for a minute, brace yourselves.
Yes. Actually, one of the crazy things is I grew up in Western Canada. I'm American now. I live in New York more than half my life. But I had a very religious father. He was like one of those Bible Belt kind of guys. But anyway, where I got inspired by a lot of this stuff was when I was a child at 5 years old going to church. I saw these missionaries coming back from Africa with snakes. You had these people that were being, the scarification, the chipped teeth, and it really kind of impressed me deeply. And I think between that and then just kind of like working class and watching the American life disappear, between those sort of things, it all kind of got me to that interest of, you know, documenting this history.
And that's actually the kind of the first question that popped into my head, Clayton, was, and it's generally, it's much more general, kind of almost artistic question, which is the idea of, I've been watching you over mostly today, but you've been doing it yesterday too, but today was the time I really spent a lot of time with you, and it's just watching you take pictures of everything. And so in a very general kind of artistic sense, like, what is it about a moment, any given moment, that makes you like pull that camera from your side and go, this is the one? You know, what made it go, oh, I'm in New York, this is the one I got to record, this is the moment I have to take? Like, what is it about any given moment that says, this is worth recording?
Well, any given moment takes place over a long period of time, and the longer you do it, the longer the moment becomes. And just sort of to once again digress, I remember in the mid-'80s, there was this guy, Chris Gore, who was doing this magazine called Film Threat. And then
I've heard of that.
That kind of went on.
Digressing is a pattern here.
And where that ended up, it ended up with this guy. So I started off with the person, you know, dealing with the person from Film Threat, this Chris Gore, like in the mid-'80s. And then that switched over, and eventually he took over that. And then my point is, there's a long progression of history, and it's not really about a moment in time, it's about a long collection of moments. And so, interesting enough, tonight, the last couple of days, we met, and, you know, I met your, you know, didn't meet, but through communication, was involved with the person who started Film Threat. So it's a long continuum. But rather than me take all the time up, let me let the boys speak here for a minute, because really these boys is one of the greatest blessings in my life, because if they hadn't made that movie, I wouldn't be here. And actually, Dan Levin is a third-generation New York City filmmaker. His father, his grandfather were filmmakers. Ben's father was published poetry books and is involved in poetry. His mother's a photographer, so they came from really sort of creative families. And one of the next greatest blessing in my life is Dan here now has moved on, and he does television shows. Like, he's a camera person. He does like The Dog, if everybody watched The Dog. I like to say The Dog because it kind of sounds like, you know, The Dog. But, and they've gone on and are starting their career. And one of the greatest blessings I had is Dan's father, who's like a really eminent documentarian, told me that Dan, who's now a great camera person, learned a lot from making Captured and looking at my footage. So that's like a total blessing. It's like passing on an honor. And so I have this next generation coming along who is like really talented, dedicated, inspired, and that's the blessing. So I'll let these boys, because I can go on forever.
You know, as always, it's the feeling is mutual, and you know, being able to not only know Clayton and ultimately have this access and work with him, but to continue to have this relationship and be able to sit here and, you know, have him express respect and you know, what the words he has for Dan and I and our other partners who couldn't be here with us is kind of the greatest reward in all of this. We met Clayton probably, we were still in high school. It was around 2000, just through kind of the weird world of New York that existed still at that time. And, you know, over the course of 5 or 6 years, as our relationship grew deeper, we kind of all saw what was going on and what was, you know, kind of this undeniable change that was happening, not only in New York City, but in the world, and that continues to go on. And, you know, luckily, the instant bond and kind of being taken under the wing by Clayton ultimately led to a place of mutual respect and trust, where we were able to say, you know, confidently approach Clayton and say, let's crack open this archive. Let's try this. You know, you're sitting on a story and not one image. It's not, you know, to go back to what you were saying, it's not capturing the moment. That's, you know, so many photographers, and that, you know, that's the goal, capture the moment. Clayton's work is testimony to there is no the moment. You know, it is that continuum and that, you know, building of history, culture, art, experience, whatever it is, and that, you know, it's a persistence and a like deliberate approach of every day you go out and go for it. And, you know, ultimately when we reached that place where we were comfortable enough to even bring it up to Clayton, and, you know, God willing, he was open to the idea, it all took off from there. And, you know, that really, that day or that week or however long it took to turn that conversation into, you know, work is to this day kind of the most significant thing I've ever had in my life. And it's, you know, we finished this film in 2008 and it's still everything to me. And it's you know, it's just great to be able to travel and show it to other people and show it in other places, because although this is such New York centric stuff at times, that, you know, this happens everywhere, you know, in every country and in every city in America. And you know, if it's not, you know, one type of person getting pushed out of a neighborhood, it's another. And if it's not, you know, factories leaving, it's artists leaving, and but it's all the same, you know. And the goal with this is just hopefully that, you know, we can slow down and kind of look at what's really important and what is worth sacrificing and what is worth fighting for.
We need Americans to be America again. We need to bring it back and make it great, and we have the possibility to do that. And I'll tell you, off the record, on a certain level, what I see like a guy like Anthony doing here in a place like Victoria, this thing could be really great, and it really could make something happen. And it would be great to have something happen down here, and I would love to come back. And I think this needs to be supported, and it needs to be carried on, and we need to do it.
Can I address something? Sorry.
It's too bad you were born in Canada, or you could be running for president in 2016.
Well, that's true, but I am.
We'd have some serious PR work to do beyond capture. But, you know,
there's some cleanup. There's a little bit of cleanup that needs to be done.
I am an American.
Can I just address something to Occupy Wall Street, Clayton's footage? I think something that originally attracted us to Clayton's archive, you know, when Clayton was standing out there in the late 80s and documenting Tompkins Square riot, you know, now Occupy Wall Street, everything's on the internet, everybody's videotaping everything. Clayton was a true pioneer with a video camera on the street, sort of, you know, displaying that message of what's going on to a larger public. And I think, you know, now in an oversaturated media world that we live in, it's taken for granted that everything's online, you can watch anything anywhere. The fact that this guy was standing out in the street with his camera trying to get in people's face, you know, way before everybody was doing that, is a remarkable thing, and I think that this movie is a testament to that.
Do you think, to a certain extent, there's kind of a danger to that, though? Because, like, people just weren't savvy enough to hide what they were doing. And now everyone's so savvy, everyone kind of assumes that we all have a camera pointing at all angles at all times, that it's almost gone. I mean, you can still catch it, but almost the subversion and the underground nature of it is almost more dangerous than when people just didn't know better and they were, just kind of in the open.
Well,
Yeah, we're not really worried about the danger. We're just worried about making things better. So, danger's one thing, and, that's just part of the program. But we're really interested in making things better. That's kind of the bottom line. And, hopefully we can. And I think if we all pull together, if we all really try, if we all start making things in America again, respecting America.
Now you are running for president.
Clayton, 2016.
I can't, so we're at that point. But,
At least I got a job for the next 4 years. Campaign manager. I think in response to your question, I think it's an evolution, and again, this film and this story comes back to an early pioneer of that sentiment of little brother is watching big brother. And yeah, maybe today everyone is more aware because of the 100 or so of us here, there's probably 90 cameras in here. It may just be on your cell phone, but it's still a camera.
To that comment, there's a line in the movie where Clayton says, he's talking about the late 80s and what it was like, and he's like, you can't be walking down the street talking on your cell phone because you had to be aware of what was going on. I think in New York, definitely, it's at a place now where people are just looking down and walking, and we all do it, but at that time, you had to know what block you were walking down. You had to know where you were going, and you had to visualize before you walk down that block. I see that person. I see what's going on over there. You had to sort of map out where you were walking, and I think that's lost now, and for better or for worse, it's just a different thing, and people are sort of in a cloud of oblivion, and, we'll see what happens. If you like the film, it's online. You can watch it for free, et cetera, et cetera. But it spreads through word of mouth. So that's how this film lives, and that's how it will continue to live.
Yeah, Captured is available on iTunes. You can watch it for free on Snag Films. We apologize for closing this discussion with such a shameless and direct plug for you to buy it. If you can find it to illegally download, go for it. We don't barely see money off iTunes. It's more about spreading the piece of work and the ideas behind it, and we really appreciate your audience and being able to speak with you and share a film with you. Anthony, thank you so much for having us. It was really an honor to be here.
And real quick, just to kind of tag on to all the thanks and everything for Anthony, I want to make it. I go to a lot of film festivals over the course of a year, and what makes a festival like this succeed, part of it's the programming and part of it's the content, part of it's the passion from the people behind the festival. But what's going to make this festival succeed year in and year out and give you something to look forward to every year is everybody in this audience, and spreading the word and saying the Victoria, Texas Film Festival is the place to be every year. So you have a ton of power, and if you want to see more stuff like this, keep coming, and you can make it happen.
And stick around and watch Dirty Old Town.
Yeah, please. You're going to be blown away by Dirty Old Town. It's just amazing.